Hey, it's Steve. Today we're going to take a look at the N-scale Athearn Big Boy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this unboxed. It comes in a very nice case. Have your warranty card and a booklet. So you get a whole lot of information of the development and everything else. A lot of nice things here. Also some data on the actual locomotive as well, which is nice. So just cool information to have if you're not that familiar with the Big Boy. This is a locomotive that a lot of people know about, that a lot of people really like, because this is just obviously, you know, a pretty historical locomotive in terms of its size and everything else. Also, Union Pacific has restored number 4014. And I was able to see that locomotive a couple years ago in person when it went through Oklahoma, and that was a very exciting thing to see. And so it was just a very cool locomotive to now have my own version of. Now, this was not a locomotive that Athearn sent me to review. I actually purchased this on my own because I did really want to have this locomotive. And you can see here how it does come boxed. You have a nice foam case. I'm not sure what the extra space here is for. There's nothing there. I don't think anything came with that. I think maybe different versions have different items, or maybe it's for, you know, if you buy a different tender or something like that, maybe you can put that there. I don't know. But anyway, we can take this out here and get a closer look at it. It's definitely surprisingly hefty for an N-scale locomotive. Obviously, N-scale does not have a lot of size to it in general. And so this is certainly about as big as you're going to get for anything in N-scale. I'm actually going to go ahead and weigh it, I think, while it's in this case, because it's going to be kind of hard to do so otherwise. Otherwise, it'll be kind of flapping off the side of my scale. So let's go ahead and do that right away. Let's put it on here and see where we're at. So 8.8 ounces, so a little bit over half a pound. So 249 grams, so a quarter of a kilogram. For N-scale, that is definitely fairly hefty. Okay, so you slide out the outer sleeve here, and then this top one comes undone, and the locomotive comes out with some protective wrapping on it. Wow, that's pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and put it on a piece of track here. You can see this locomotive is 4005, and this is obviously a coal-burning one. It has the coal tender. The 4014, which is the one that's been traveling around the country at times with Union Pacific, that one has been converted to oil burning, and I wanted to get that one just because that's the one that you have out there right now that's traveling around and actually operational. They are hard to find right now, and so I just picked up the one that I could find, and that's 4005. But anyway, let's take a closer look here. So you can see there's a lot of awesome detail. The handrails are really close to scale. That's really remarkable for N-scale to have handrails that small. These are metal handrails, and so certainly they should be a little sturdier than if they were some type of a plastic. So just a lot of impressive detail with this locomotive. You can see all the great piping, all the side rod detail there. Just really, really impressive work on this locomotive. Very, very nice. So nice sharp lettering there on the number boards, and just really nice detail there on the front end. It's a little challenging to get everything in focus with an N-scale locomotive like this. Got the bell on the front there. And the back of the tender. Got some very nice rivet detail there on the tender itself. These Athearn locomotives, like all Athearn products, as far as I know, include the McHenry couplers, which, while I much prefer the Katy couplers and HO scale and N scale, I actually like the McHenry couplers a little bit better than the Micro Trains couplers, and I do like the overall look of them a little bit better than the Micro Trains couplers. And these do work with the Micro Trains couplers, but overall, I've actually been kind of converting a lot of my rolling stock to the McHenry couplers and N scale, so that's personal preference, but that is what you get with this locomotive. So one more look here. Let's try to get a closer look at the top detail here. And lastly here, before we get it on the layout, let's go ahead and look at the underbody. I'm interested in the wheels here. This is designed to take an 11-inch radius curve. Not that it's going to look great doing so, but it can theoretically get around that. And I believe what Athearn was going for was for the Big Boy to be able to go around be T-track layouts that are out there. T-track uses 11 and 12 and 3/4 inch radius curves for the standard T-track modules. And so this is designed, I believe, to fit around those curves. So if you have a big T-track layout at a show, they can run a Big Boy on it. And so it looks like these wheels here do slide back and forth. They have some play in there, which will help them take the sharper curves. So a couple of wheels can be kind of shifted one way and some of the others another way to get around. So you can see that this should be able to get around some reasonably tight curves. And the trailing truck also is attached here to the second set of drivers, so that can really swing way out and allow you to get around some sharper curves. And then the tender, the front set of wheels, is separate from the back set of 10 wheels here. And again, these do have some play back and forth to help negotiate those sharper curves. So anyway, let's go ahead and see how this actually does on the project layout that I have. Okay, so you can hear some of the startup sounds there. The bell. Short whistle. Long whistle. Let's see it move here. So anyway, I'll mute things here so I can talk and kind of go over some of my experiences here with this Athearn Big Boy. So you can see here, things are running really smoothly now after being pretty jerky and stalling all the time right out of the box. And for a steam locomotive, that's actually not that unusual. Typically, these things do need a break-in period of at least a couple hours before they run really smoothly. And that's been the case with this Big Boy as well. Out of the box, it was, pretty rough, but after about an hour or so, it got pretty smooth, and it's kind of a steady sort of thing. The longer it ran, the smoother it's gotten. And I've maybe had an hour and a half of runtime on this so far, and it's gotten to where it's running, for the most part, smoothly. I haven't had any more stalls, and everything is just going really, really well now. And you can see the overall performance here is quite nice, and that should continue to get better with time as the break-in period continues. So just be aware, if you do get this locomotive, or really any other large, complicated steam locomotive that has, lots of moving parts, all those drive rods and everything else, all the connections, they might not be lubricated quite well yet. There is a lot of oil on all the moving parts when you get this, but it may not be spread around evenly because it's been sitting in a box for a long time and that kind of thing. And so give it some time to run, and you will find the performance gets better and better with time. And so you can see here, I can just creep this locomotive along, and there it goes for the most part really smoothly. And so give it that break-in period, and you should have really reliable performance. And so this is certainly a great locomotive if you are looking to pick up one of these Big Boys. They are very hard to find right now because they just sold out pretty much immediately once they became available. I'm pretty sure Athearn's going to have another run of these. I don't see why they wouldn't, because they did sell so quickly. And so you may be keeping a watch out for that going forward here later this year for some additional availability to show up here once that new run maybe shows up later in the year. So certainly a great locomotive. You can see it's taking these relatively sharp curves here without any issue. The narrowest curve here on the inside of the tunnel on the inner rail is 12 3/4 inches, and it has no problem at all with that radius curve. It is rated for 11 inches, and so I think it probably should be able to get around that fine. In terms of derailments, I haven't really had any issues at all. Obviously, you have to be kind of careful when you get it on the track in the first place. It's pretty easy to have one of the sets of drive wheels not be on the track because the wheels do slide back and forth to allow it to get around those narrower curves. And so you can sometimes have just one of those drive wheels not be on the track. And so watch for that when you are getting the locomotive put on the track. And same thing with the tender. There's a lot of wheels back there. It's not that hard to have one of them be off the track when you put it on there. So that's the trickiest part by far, obviously, when you have that many wheels to get everything on the track. But that's a look at the Athearn Big Boy, a great steam locomotive to add to your roster if you have any excuse to add one like this. So anyway, that's all for this video, and thanks for watching. Bye.